What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Hustle or Stay Basic channel, the Invest or Stay Basic segment. As always, I'm your host KG, and as you can tell, I've shaved my whole face off. Can't cut my hair because I don't trust myself with it, but I am still here recording videos for you guys. Today, we're going to take a look at a company called Enthusiast Gaming. Shout out to raw.expertise for dropping a comment and asking me to take a look at this company. If you guys want me to take a look at a company, please drop a comment below. And if you enjoy this video, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. So ticker symbol EGLX on the Toronto Stock Exchange, Enthusiast Gaming Holdings. It is the largest gaming network in North America. The company's business is comprised of three pillars: media, events, and esports. They say it's in the digital media and entertainment industry. It's a small cap, $629 million market cap. And I don't know, I think this raw expertise guy who dropped a comment, he could see the future, because since his comments to do the video, the stock has gone up 53% and it's up over 197% within the last 12 months. It's a relatively young company. It was incorporated in 2018, known as J55 Capital Corp. And they later changed their name to Enthusiast Gaming in 2019. So what is this company's mission? What are they all about? So I got this off their website. We are building a world of communities where video gamers connect and engage. When I read this, I got some really heavy, Ready Player One, the movie vibes. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's pretty cool. But let's go look into those three pillars. I think that's the best way to understand what this company does. Let's start with media. So this company has over 100 websites, and they generate over 1 billion views per month, which is an absolutely insane number. They have very specific gaming YouTube channels that generate 50 million unique views every month. And then with their acquisition of Omnia, which I'll get into later, they acquired multi-channel networks that are composed of thousands of YouTube channels that generate 3.2 billion views every month. Some interesting things to note is that the media portion makes up 93.5% of their revenue from their most recent quarter. And they have 115,000 paying website subscribers in this website portion. For example, like the Sims resources. So if you're a fan of the video game The Sims, you'd go on that website, you'd subscribe, I guess, for some tips and stuff like that. The second pillar of the company is events, or entertainment, sometimes they call it. And their biggest event is the EGLX Live event. It reminds me of the E3 event that they have, I believe, in LA or Vegas. Bunch of gamers. They had 30,000 attendees, 200 exhibitors, a bunch of viewers, and they, play a lot of tournaments during that event. They also have a mobile games conference called Pocket Gamers Connects, and that's where all, mobile developers and people in that industry get together and discuss what's going on in that industry. And they have a bunch of keynote speakers and lots of opportunity to network in those events as well. I didn't see any sales called out for this portion or this segment in their quarterly reports. They might associate it with the media segment. And the third segment is esports. They have 7 professional esports teams and 50 plus or about 50 influencers under contract. They have 500 listed here, but on the quarterly report, they list out 50. I'm going to go with that report. And the main thing you want to know here is they own Luminosity Gaming, which is the 40th ranked esports team based off earnings. You can see they've done a total of 3.5 million so far. You can compare it with some of these items here. So they don't own the best esports team, but they are trying to get some more acquire esports teams and get into that esports space. So this segment makes up 6.5 or the remainder of the revenue in their last quarter. So I guess so far you kind of have a gist of what they do. They have a lot of content in their media space with all those YouTube channels and all those websites, and a large reach into the gaming society. And what they can do with that gaming society is, partner with sponsors like Samsung or large companies and use ads to target towards gamers. And then the other two items are the events that they can't really hold in person right now due to COVID. but they do virtual events. And of course, esports, which is continuing, if not thriving, through this pandemic. So before we get into the numbers or the financials for this company, I think one thing I want to call out is they are really active. They acquired Luminous Gaming, or Luminosities. I must have called it Luminous earlier in the video, but Luminosity Gaming in 2019. That's that esports, the 40th ranked esports team. They amalgamated with GameCo, and then on October 3rd, 2019, they acquired Steel Media Limited. And then on August 30th, 2020, this is the big one, they acquired Omnia. And Omnia is the large multi-channel network media company that I was talking about earlier in the previous slide. And over here, they have this little image. Let me see if I can make it big for you guys to see. They said, hey, we were doing 27 million in 2019, but by acquiring Omnia, which did 82 million in 2019, we're projected or expected to do at least 100 million every year going forward. And that's really pumped up their stock price. So let's just take a quick look at the sales. As I mentioned, I kind of looped in media and subscription in one because subscriptions are to the media websites, and media and content, like I said, they can use targeting ads, sponsorships, and stuff like that. And they have they did over 13 million in the last quarter. That's a huge number because you can see before they acquired Omnia, they were doing about 1.3 million. So they clearly grew a lot due to the acquisition of Omnia Media. So that's awesome. And esports, they did about 1 million, which is pretty cool. When I think about esports, I might have played down their revenue that they could do, but they did over $1 million last quarter in esports revenue. So that's pretty cool. So their gross margin before other expenses was 4 million. I think that's a really good margin. 4 divided 16, that's 25% margin. Pretty damn good. But they are getting killed with all their current lingering expenses. So I shared in the earlier slide that they did 4 million in gross profit. But once you add in all these operating expenses and other expenses, which total to be 12 million, they actually took a loss or a net loss of 8 million in their most recent quarter. They have about 100 outstanding shares, so that's almost about negative 100 million in earnings last year. So one thing I always like looking at is just from a high level, how much cash they have and how much debt they have. Looking at the current ratio, they clearly have more cash than needed to meet the current liabilities, but they do have a significant amount of debt compared to their cash. 8 million compared to 38 million in total debt. That's pretty significant, but they are a growing company. They are acquiring a lot of companies trying to grow. One thing that is concerning, though, is that in 2019 Q1, they had 43 million shares outstanding. And as of today, they have 100 million. So they've actually issued double the amount of shares over the last couple of years. So that is concerning for, shareholder value. So far, I think I've said some pretty negative things about their balance sheet or, their earnings, but I think you have to look at this stock from a growth investor perspective and not a value investor. So I kind of also want to take a look at the potential of this company, and this slide kind of explains it really well. What they're saying here is due to that Omnia acquisition, they're at an average revenue per user or ARPU of 40 cents, and they have a reach of about 300 gamers. So they're saying this year, at least, it'll do $120 million in sales. And they're trying to get that number to $3, which would be, $900 million in sales if their reach did not change. So this is a tall task to, go from $100 million in sales to $900 million in sales in 3 years. But the management team here really believes it. And I listened to a couple of calls with the CEO, and also he was on an RBC podcast, Disruptors, and talked about the prospects of this company. I'll share a little bit more about that later in this video. I think what makes this company so interesting is that it is a media company for gaming, and it's really unique. I can't really find anything or any company that does that. And gaming is set to explode, and I'll explain that a little bit more in the next slide. But if you believe what the CEO is saying, that they're going to hit 900 million in sales over the next 3 years, the current valuation of about 600 million market cap, that's undervalued. But there's a lot of speculation in that. So there's a bunch on this slide that I want to talk about. I think this is probably the most important slide. It's my final thoughts, and also time for you to reflect on, hey, does this company make sense for yourself? So first, let's start with what the analysts are saying. They're projecting $150 million in sales in 2021. And personally, I think that's too low. Not that they won't hit it, but I think they should aim higher as a company. A pandemic only comes around once in 100 years or so, and this is their opportunity to take advantage of stay at home. I think the company should do around $200 million in sales. Not to say that they will, but if they don't take advantage and beat this analyst estimate, I'd be disappointed as a shareholder. You might have seen in the first slide that the stock is down about 13%. That's just a small hiccup. One Blue Ant, who owned Omnia, who got a bunch of shares from Enthusiast Gaming for that Omnia transaction, they sold a bunch of their shares at $5.75 per share, and that kind of shook up the market a bit. A bunch of shareholders were like, hey, if they're selling at $5.75, maybe they know something we don't, and maybe it's worth $5.75. So the stock dropped from $7 to $6 a share, and that's kind of where it sits today. Now, this is probably the most interesting, and this is where I can be like super bullish on the company. Listening to the CEO, he spoke about how advertisement works and how it works for Gen Z. And what he described Gen Z as is 70% of Gen Zers identify with gaming, or gaming is a part of their identity. They don't use Facebook, they don't watch TV, and they don't listen to the radio. They game. And he was saying it was really interesting that Biden and Kamala Harris, they did a lot of advertising through Fortnite. And he thinks a lot more advertising is going to go through video games to try to get these Gen Zers' attention. And I think that's a pretty cool perspective. Hearing that perspective of these Gen Zers who don't watch TV, don't listen to radio, don't go on Facebook, and can really only be targeted via ads through, YouTube, hey, hello, and gaming, and following their influencers and creators. Enthusiast Gaming is really set up for that world, and I think that's a huge advantage. If this company does not grow and they stay around $120 to $200 million a year in sales, and try to get to positive earnings over the next 5 years, it's probably worth around a $300 million market cap, which means you'd lose half your money if you invested today. But if they continue to grow and they start hitting that, $900 million in sales and start to get to positive earnings over the next 5 years, this is probably a $1 to $3 billion company. So that's about 3 to 4 times upside, and that's pretty cool. But personally, as you know, I don't participate in speculation. I only buy stocks that provide value and have shown consistent earnings. That's why I won't be investing in it. Also, I'm not a gamer. I don't game much. I just make YouTube videos for you guys. So what do you guys think about Enthusiast Gaming? Drop a comment below. If you like this video, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Also follow me on Instagram at KG the Hustler, and go take a listen to my podcast, Hustle or Stay Basic, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.